situation. The Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, then signed Joe Burrow, then traded all over the draft, drafted 2 more QBs. Kevin Stefanski was asked how he planned to split reps across that crowded QB room.
Obviously, there's that old saying, you treat everybody fairly, but not the same. It's related to that. You know that there's guys that need to get X number of reps. There's guys that don't. I mean, Joe is, 40 years old, has seen a lot of football, has played a lot of football. He does not need as many reps as the young guys do. So tried to be smart where we can still give Joe an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to be evaluated, while also maybe shifting a few of those reps to the younger guys, and then mixing it up throughout. We had multiple guys in there at multiple spots, and that's kind of the way we've looked at doing business here the last 3 weeks with 9 practices, where we just want to see a lot of these guys in a bunch of different situations.
That is a voice that has become very familiar to Daniel Oyefusi, our Browns team reporter, here with us. And Daniel, we got 4 quarterbacks currently healthy on this roster. Any sense what the plan is? 4 quarterbacks once camp opens next week in Berea?
Yeah, well, it was a fascinating spring when you have 4 quarterbacks out there who are vying to be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. And I think it was interesting to hear what Kevin Stefanski said about the spring, where it was more of a teaching and an installation process. But he acknowledged that that's going to change once we get into the summer. We're looking to evaluate this crop of quarterbacks. And obviously, as he said before, they broke up the reps to get the rookies a lot of reps when we talk about Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. But I think that as we get closer to the start of the season, you have to look at the vets with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett as maybe being ahead of the crop. And I think that we're going to see that a little bit. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders has been at the center of this. We saw a trend where he didn't get a lot of first-team reps. Does that change? He impressed with his progression, with his accuracy. They love what he's doing in the building, but can he crack that group and get to the first team?
It's interesting, Daniel, because I think you've got the race for the starting job, and then you've got the race to see who even makes the roster. There are 4 quarterbacks, and it's hard to imagine that the Browns are going to keep 4 quarterbacks on their opening day roster. And if they're not keeping all the quarterbacks, you would think that they're going to keep both the draft picks, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, unless one of them falters terribly. So now we're down to, okay, who sticks? Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, and whoever does stick probably is the favorite to win the starting job, and whoever doesn't stick could be traded to another team, could be released. We'll see how it all plays out. But it's really interesting to see. This might be the most interesting position battle of any team anywhere in the league as training camp goes. I'm curious, Daniel, did any quarterback jump out to you during the spring? Just your opinion.
My opinion, Shedeur Sanders really did stand out. Again, all of those skills that we talked about pre-draft, the poise, the accuracy from the pocket, we saw that. But the caveat was it was with the second-team offense and against the second-team defense. So that's why I'm really interested to see, can he crack that rotation and get some reps with Myles Garrett pass rushing against him in those summer practices,
A little different.
The other interesting thing about the Brown situation is you have, Joe Flacco. I'm not going to call it how old he is, but then you have these really young guys. This last week I was in Kansas City talking with Patrick Mahomes, and he was asked, what led to so much of your success here, and among all the other intangibles that obviously Patrick Mahomes has, but he talked about the situation that he came into. When he came in, it was a great situation in Kansas City. Andy Reid's the head coach, and then they were in no rush to start him, no rush to throw him out there. He sat behind Alex Smith, soaked up everything from what goes on in the facility to how to lead a team to how to properly take an install and then go put it out on the field. So whatever happens in Cleveland, you have 2 rookies who have Joe Flacco to look to. So depending on what kind of rush they're in, there might not be a rush to put either one of those young guys out.
And whatever happens in Cleveland, a Jersey guy is going to have his sewing machine ready. It looks like we're going to add at least one more name to the list. Let's get D-Wood back in here. Damian, if I were to poll the veterans in this Browns locker room, looking ahead at a menacing AFC North, what do you think they would want to see happen at QB heading into week 1?
Who's going to give us the best chance to win? Veterans don't care about 2026 and beyond. All vets care about is who's going to give us the best chance to win in this moment, in this season. And so if you're asking the veterans, they have a keen eye. They're looking at all these guys and the reps they're taking in practice, okay, because that's where everything is decided. And I think if you're Kevin Stefanski, the one thing you have to do, the one thing you can't do, you're not going to fool the players because we see everything. We see it all. And so you got to go out there and you got to announce At the end of the process, the guy that's going to give you the best chance to succeed. If that's a rookie, then so be it. If it's the 40-year-old veteran in Joe Flacco, then so be it. But vets just care about winning football games. That's it.
Well, whoever gets that QB1 spot, there are going to be some early tests on the schedule. Here's the first 5 weeks for Cleveland. Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings. That's 4 playoff teams, plus Cincy. We did have some legal news break over the weekend in regards to the Browns and rookie running back Judkins. Daniel, what more can you tell us about that situation?
Yeah, police in Fort Lauderdale said Judkins, the Browns' second-round pick, was arrested Saturday morning after they responded to what they called a delayed battery. There was an alleged incident that occurred last Monday but wasn't reported until Saturday. They said that once they did investigations, they did arrest Judkins. He was released from Fort Lauderdale jail after posting bond and going with having a bond hearing. The Browns and the NFL have said that they're aware of the incident and they're gathering more information, but Browns rookies are actually supposed to report to the facility for training camp Friday. So obviously with Judkins remaining, one of those remaining second-round picks that's unsigned, that's obviously another wrinkle to that situation.
And this is the kind of news that obviously is very disturbing. And again, we talked about the second-round draft picks that aren't under contract. Here's one of those unsigned second-round draft picks. And when an incident like this happens, you have to think that that's going to make the Browns extremely leery about guaranteeing the money in that particular contract. And Judkins, through this particular decision, could influence and impact how some of these second-round draft picks are paid in guaranteed money.
Again, those Browns rookies scheduled to report Friday, Judkins included, and veteran. Business is booming. And in truth, in some ways, the offseason's already over. We've got a training camp open for rookies. Chargers rookies were the first to report this summer, arriving in Southern California over the weekend with one major absence, second-round pick wide receiver Tre Harris. Lindsay, you're based in Southern California. What are the vibes there entering year 2 of the Harbaugh regime?
You know, it's really interesting because Jim Harbaugh came in with a bang. Everybody in LA was so excited to have him, still is, but it was a really disappointing end to that first season with that blowout loss in the playoffs to the Houston Texans. So I think going into year 2, everyone's kind of looking to Harbaugh to establish that playoff team that can make a deep run, especially with Justin Herbert still at quarterback.
And we mentioned it off the top, no Tre Harris, Adam. Welcome to the program. In LA thus far, which isn't really news. A lot of these second-round picks are unsigned. What do we know about Harris' situation as the Chargers rookies have already reported?
Well, Phil, 30 of the 32 second-round draft picks have not signed. Obviously, every second-round draft pick wants what Jayden Higgins got in Houston, what the Browns linebacker got also. They're looking for guaranteed money of second-round draft picks. And teams and second-round draft picks currently are in disputes over how much money, guaranteed money, a second-round draft pick can get. So this Tre Harris holdout is nothing unusual. It is par for the course in the second round. And it'll be interesting to see if and when a breakthrough does occur, which team or player or agent gives in first.
Well, we know, Adam, you mentioned it, not alone. 30 of 32 remain unsigned. This is going to be a story across the NFL in the coming weeks. When Harris does report to camp, he's got a pretty good QB waiting for him there. Over the last 2 years, Justin Herbert has posted the second-best touchdown to interception ratio of any QB. We forget, because of the 4 picks in the wild card loss, the only guy on this list better than Herbert, 4.3 touchdown to picks, Lamar Jackson, who won an MVP in that span, and you could make a cogent argument he deserves another. Damien Woody, you've been waiting patiently. You heard Lindsay talk about year 2 under the Harbaugh regime for the Bolts. What do you think is kind of the barometer for a good season this season in LA?
Yeah, listen, I think they're one of those 3 teams in the AFC West that I expect to contend for the playoffs, along with Denver and the Kansas City Chiefs. We know what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to establish the line of scrimmage, play with a level of physicality, obviously running the football. But they have a Ferrari at the quarterback position in Justin Herbert. I've said